tales.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about all things X-Men. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing well enough.
Okay. Well enough to record a podcast about the X-Men.
Well enough to record exactly well enough to record a podcast about the X-Men, not well enough to record a podcast about X Factor. So I'm exactly at that line.
Okay, well that's fair. That's a good line. You have to know your boundaries in this world. I think, you have to know as a complete sentence, as people often say.
Exactly. Yeah. How are you doing?
I am well enough to be here. That's about as far as I'm willing to go with it. I had a nightmare traffic situation on the way home, which caused me to be late. So I officially apologizing to you about that. On the
no problem at all. It changed our plans of what we're recording today a little bit, but not so much so that we can't make an exciting new announcement. That the degree to which it is exciting is up to you. I don't know how exciting it is.
I feel like
people, but I hope people like it.
I feel like podcasters drastically overestimate the importance of format changes to their audience.
Oh, well, yeah, we should have done a YouTube premiere. One of those things where like you load up YouTube and you're like, I'd like to watch it. It's just a screenshot telling me that a video is coming tomorrow. I gotcha.
Have you? I've done YouTube premieres for like the music videos I've created for Monster of the Week, and they're super fun because like you get people in the chat and they're like excited to watch it with you. But from the creator side, you get to choose the like graphic they use, and so what ends up happening is that like say we're gonna start this premiere at 1 p.m. Well, at 1 p.m., the countdown starts, and you can control how long the countdown is. So you get one of those weird, like, gaming presentation, like, countdown with the music and everything, and it's just so fucking weird, man. It's just
Bobby Kotick is there.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
He's always on the 6 and the 8 for some reason. I don't know what he's doing, but...
So the announcement is we are going to move back to a weekly schedule. We're not moving back to covering the X-Men animated series cartoon, but we are going to go back to a weekly schedule. We're not actually going to be recording more. We're doing a bonfireside chat where we're splitting things up into smaller chunks because we think that might be a better listening experience.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we're in the middle of Fatal Attractions now. This episode and the one following it will be at our normal schedule because we just figure it's easier to wrap up since we're in the middle of something with our old kind of way. And then we're going to start a new series, which we'll talk about here in just a second. And that will be just like 1 or 2 issues per episode per week. And it's just going to kind of depend on how much we talk about it, right? Like it's
exactly
same amount of content. We're not, I don't think we're going to be light on the minutes. We're not going to be light on the minutes. Don't measure my minutes.
Not going to be heavy on the minutes or light on the minutes. Yeah. There is a thing that makes people, when you do this, that some people do feel like you're getting light on the minutes. Like it happens a lot with Bonfireside Chat, which was like an hour and a half every 2 weeks. And now we do 45 minutes every week. And still now people are like, these episodes are, you're doing way less. And I'm like, I assure you, we're doing mathematically the same amount. Yeah, I can prove it. It's numbers. It's not subjective. So we're not going to be light or heavy on the minutes, same amount of minutes, kind of regardless. And one of the things that made me, that I was in favor of this idea was because of when we did Fatal Attractions last time, and ordinarily in an hour we cover 4 issues, but we covered 2 because there's just so much to talk about. Having a format where we can just kind of follow how much there is to talk about.
Yes.
And I think that will lend itself a little bit better to a week. So we don't have as many like awkward stopping points. And it also means that if we decide we want to cover like one-offs,
easy to do,
like single, super easy to do. Mm-hmm. We don't have to worry about it being like, this is a single story plus the first 3/4 of another story.
Exactly. Yeah.
As an exceedingly silly kind of thing. So we're finishing this up as you said. So 2 issues today, 2 issues next episode in 2 weeks. Then after that, we are starting coverage of the minor X-Men crossover from the 2010s, Mojo Worldwide.
Mojo Worldwide. Our idea was, hey, we like Mojo.
Yeah, we haven't done a Mojo thing.
Yeah.
and we don't know the storyline. So if you hear this and you're like, oh man, that storyline was the fucking worst. Good. I don't know. I'm curious about it, and I can't wait to dive into being the worst.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's good, but if I'm wrong, and that's okay. It's from an era we haven't talked about. It's the 2010s, like post-Hope X-Men with like X-Men Gold and X-Men Red. That whole zone, which I don't know very much about. I think Nightcrawler's dead in that period.
I think so.
Jubilee's already a vampire. Like I really don't know what's going on there. So it's going to be fun to dive in. And then we both love Mojo.
I was real excited because we had the idea of like, oh, we should do something Mojo related. We haven't really, we love that dude, and we don't really get a chance to talk about him a lot. And so I hit the Wikipedia page, and then it was almost immediately turned off by the idea of X babies because I had just put all of the X baby stuff out of my brain, and was like, well, this is not what we're gonna do. We're definitely not going to be talking about the X babies.
They're the X babies. There's also a character apparently named Wolvie, who is a child Wolverine who is not the X baby Wolverine, who showed up at some point. I was reading about this. And it's a tiny little Wolverine that has none of Wolverine's attitudes or powers, but the only trick is that he's immortal. So he can't like fight you or anything. He just can't die.
Is it like Claudia from Interview with the Vampire? Like he's just an immortal baby, or does he aging?
He's an immortal, but he's a small Wolverine, so he's still dressed up in the full costume and stuff. It's confusing, and I don't know, and maybe we'll learn more.
Maybe
from this Mojo
thing. And hopefully, I pray we won't.
Yeah, we might not get the like. We both love Mojo, but Mojo is related to some real dog shit stories. When I was trying to look at like what is a Mojo story, there's the Long Shot miniseries, which I like a little bit because it's Long Shot,
of course,
but it's pretty slow. It's an Ann Nesenti comic from the 80s, and it's very slow. And then I remember reading Shatter Shot. Did you ever read in the 90s X-Men crossovers that took place over the annuals?
Yes. But like barely. So it was really difficult for me to find the annuals. So sometimes I would just find them years later or find them months later and be like, that's what happens.
I had so many just individual issues of something called Kings of Pain that I had no idea what that story was. I was just like, oh, I have the annual for X-Force that's King of Pain. The only one I collected all of was Shatter Shot. And that is an alternate universe Mojo story that is fun, but it's the same era as Fatal Attractions. So maybe in the future we'll look at that, but I didn't want to do another like 90s crap.
And we still have more. I mean, we haven't talked about this in a while, but eventually Marvel is going to release the new X-Men animated series. Like that's gonna happen at some point. Like
this kind of soft launch us into that. I'm sure that's not going to be like the old one where it's 29 episodes.
No,
for the first season. I'm sure it's gonna be like an 11 episode or 10 episode thing. So we'll definitely cover that, and that will fit the new format really well.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what AI monstrosity they're going to make out of the intro for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I guess that's the other thing is we're still going to do the MCU roundup stuff. We just, they've slowed down the release schedule of stuff quite a bit. I don't know if you've seen about the delays.
Oh, yeah. The writer's strike hit I think hit most of those movies and stuff. So
I think it'll actually be good. I think that it will help with the fatigue.
Yeah,
that people are feeling. Like, I think next year there's 2 movies, and that feels about right. To me,
I am pretty Marvel fatigued at this point. There's been 3 episodes of Secret Invasion out of the, I think there's 6 of them, and you haven't watched it, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But my overall opinion is extremely negative. Even if you take out the whole we hired an AI company to make our intro bullshit, just the episodes themselves I'm just watching it and I'm like, I don't even I'm not. There's no radish here. There's no good anything in this. That I'm not enjoying this. Why the fuck am I watching it? So I'm probably gonna begrudgingly watch the Secret Invasion stuff and then just check out of Marvel TV shows for a while if I can make myself do it.
I don't even know what's coming next with that as well. I don't even know what you're missing.
There's the Echo series that's coming.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And they're doing something weird with that makes me think they have no confidence in it because they're dumping all of the episodes on the same day, which they have never done for a Disney property at this point. So, and then there's the animated series. There's What If Volume 2. There's Loki Volume 2. There's the witches thing, whose name I can never
Covenant
remember.
Chaos,
Covenant
yeah.
Chaos. There's some stuff out there, but like all of it's in the future. But I feel like with the writer strike, like just delaying all of that stuff by months is absolutely fine with me.
It's probably good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more excited about Loki 2 and Covenant of Chaos because they're sequels to shows I liked. You know, but I get what you mean. Yeah.
Hey, don't forget What If Volume 2, Gary.
I didn't hate What If. Like, I'll probably watch it, but like, boy, that's also
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's talk about what I consider to be the worst issue in this crossover.
Okay. The Uncanny X-Men 304, An Offer of Salvation, A Betrayal Most Bitter.
Most bitter.
I don't know if this is the first time that they've done this or if I just missed it in the first 2 issues that we covered, but they do the little positive and negative symbols on the tees.
Oh, no, that's been on. That's the symbol for the crossover.
I don't like that. I don't think that looks very good.
It's well, you see, it's a negative and positive charge.
I mean, I understand
like
that,
Xavier and Magneto.
Yeah. And Magneto's power is, magnetism. So,
I didn't pick that later, but yes,
fatal attraction, scary attraction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No. I just noticed, and I just don't think they look like T's. Which, if you're going to turn letters into something, they still kind of need to look like T's.
They do look like Dark Souls maces. A little bit.
They do. I would
like
dual wield these. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I would dual wield
this logo.
I would look at the post-it on the back and figure out where this came from and how it upgrades.
Yeah.
And then I would dual wield them.
What's the lore behind these tees?
Yeah. It's pretty standard cover though, which is half of our team just yelling at us.
They're real mad. The cover of this, the hologram isn't showing up for me. This is the one with the Magneto hologram, I want to say. And it was a cool hologram. The end. Yeah, and this is John Romita Jr. Art, Scott Lobdell writing. Here. We start off with all of the acolytes finding Fabian Cortez.
Yes.
Underwater. It looks like he's in like an Atlantis base.
I went back and double check that I was reading this correctly because this seems like I guess it probably just happens in an issue before this or whatever, but this is them discovering his betrayal of the acolytes, right? Like they have all found out that it was him that was responsible for murdering Magneto.
Yeah. We get the Klein Stocks, the weirdest acolyte who just becomes like this conjoined twin, three-armed fella here. They're all zapping him, and Fabian Cortez is still trying to big time ordering him. And they're like, we're not taking your orders, you piece of shit. He eventually shakes them all off with his ill-defined powers and confronts them. Basically, you guys keep accusing me of this. Where's your proof? I did nothing to Magneto.
Yeah, we've worked together for so long. How could you possibly not trust me? And I'm like, Brenda, we work in the same office. I'm not going to trust you with my child. You're not going to be my godmother of my children. Come on,
man. Fabian Cortez would be a bad godfather. It's worth noting the time scales involved in a lot of the X-Men stuff that's happening here. This Magneto's betrayal and all that stuff happened about 2 years ago in real time. So they had been working together for a while and been doing some stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying that they should trust him, but it's in comics time. That's a long time for a status quo.
Yes.
Yeah. And who spilled the beans but Exodus?
Another mutant with very ill-defined everything.
Most ill-defined.
And a cute braid.
Yes. The design nightmare that is Exodus did it. They're basically all turning on him. Saying, you do not deserve to be in Magneto's new world. We got Magneto. Fabian Cortez freaks out and dives at Exodus. And Exodus, the art's a little dodgy here. John Romita Jr. is always, kind of hit and miss to me. Like when it hits, I think it's good. But it looks like he dissolves him. But he's okay. It shows his body on the ground with energy and stuff.
But it really, for a minute, looks like he's just got splatted, like just ripped open.
And the thing he got splatted with, Exodus is like, you'll have to suffer slowly. The victim of somebody else's legacy, implying that he has the legacy virus, aka the X-Men AIDS virus metaphor.
Yes.
Which I don't know if he had this beforehand or the idea is Exodus just blasted him with it, which is definitely what I thought as a kid. I was like, oh shit, is Exodus the one giving everybody the legacy virus?
What if every time you got an STD, it just felt like this? Like you got blasted across the room.
God.
Right? You would just know instantly.
Oh, my crabs! Yeah. very happy to never have had an STD.
Same.
Yeah, never. It's great. I've got friends who have had them. No shame in it, but it's just, got to keep a clean ship. We cut over to Xavier staring at himself in the mirror, pontificating.
Mm-hmm.
Basically angsting about losing Ilyana, because this is the day of her funeral.
We should note that Ilyana also died from the legacy virus. So this is a pretty decent transition.
Yeah. And as she is very upset, our girlfriend sends a telegram to him to give him a pep talk.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, look, this past week, Drake appeared on stage with a hologram of himself, like a younger Drake. So this just feels to me like this is something very Drake-like in execution. Yes.
Lilandra is the Drake. I mean, they are bird people. So
they are bird people. And, Drake is kind of a bird person now that you think about it.
Yeah. It's a mallard, Drakes, whatever. She's basically saying, you have a good heart. Your dream is alive. You're doing your best. Good job. And then she fades out. The Shi'ar technology only allows her to do this so long. This
is like when I'm on a phone call with one of my coworkers for too long, and I'm just like, "Hey, I got another call coming in. This is a customer. I got to take it. I'll call you right back." And then I just don't call him back. I just wanted to get off the phone. Like I feel like Lilandra is like just
my god.
At a couple of minutes in, just start like twiddling that knob that gives us the reception.
I was thinking about the time difference. Like for this to be at funeral times on Earth. Who even knows what time it is on the Shi'ar homeworld? Like if Lilandra had to get up and get dressed and put on her makeup at like 3 a.m.
I love sci-fi stuff. All of space and science and all of this stuff is super exciting when you think about it. And like in a fantasy setting like an X-Men, it's always super fun, and it's always really, really funny to me when science fiction goes out of its way to be like, it was 12:45 Earth time or whatever. They've the Cyclops series was doing this because the Cyclops spends a bunch of time in space, and it was like he has spent 11 Earth days, and I'm like, what? Well, how many like Kree days is that? Like, you can't just say Earth days. Like, I need more information, please.
Or you could have just said days and nobody would have noticed it.
Or the very particular nerd that would, like, you can just not worry about him. Like, it's okay.
You don't have to bow to that nerd. Xavier basically, again, he's just saying Xavier shit. Talking about how alone he is, angsting, but he's like, he's finally gonna do it. And he opens up his bank of 3 huge monitors. Or it looks like 3 huge monitors, but they're actually very small. It's a weird optical illusion that looks like a little tiny chair in front of huge monitors.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a little doodad that says underground, the Magneto protocols.
Oh.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to find out what the Magneto protocols are, which is very funny.
Yes.
I wouldn't call this plan a protocol. It's not like a bad plan or anything. It's fine. It's just X-Men doing mission shit. But the fact that this is in a super secret folder, that the plan is go fly to him and fry his brain.
Yeah.
Is literally the protocol.
This is
which
right.
I imagine is Xavier's protocol for like almost everybody. That's probably the Paperboy protocol. That's like the rude barista protocol.
I bet
that's all of it.
I bet they work very hard not to get Xavier on the phone with like a Comcast support technician, because he would just instantly fry them across from the phone. Like it happened once. Like he completely executed some poor like water utility worker. It was like, no.
There probably used to be a competitor for Comcast. That crossed Xavier
and now there's no longer
House of Em'd. Yeah, we've been House of Em'd and forgetting it.
We House of Em'd Spectrum.
Yeah.
We go to the outside of the mansion, and we have a pretty long-winded like kind of narration that's just going to serve to get us into space so that we can see Magneto on his spaceship that is not called Ship anymore. It's called Avalon.
Yes, named after the Roxy Music,
of course,
song. And this is Scott Lobdell's whole deal is doing Chris Claremont impersonations. So everyone is pontificating to themselves all the time. Here, this is when Magneto is doing the same thing Xavier is doing. Mm-hmm. Apologizing because I wasn't strong enough either. Xavier's saying I wasn't strong enough to fight Magneto and protect Illyana. Magneto's saying I wasn't strong enough to kill all the humans and protect all the mutants.
Yes.
But I do have Avalon. I'm going to bring the humans up.
And of course, he has to go through like his whole history, right? We've seen this
Yes.
history of his wife and his daughter being murdered, soldiers coming to shoot him. I mentioned this, I think, in the prequel, the lead up to this, like follows one of these dudes that survives and he has a whole story and gets a weird suit that prevents Magneto from sensing him. And I do actually kind of dig the art on like the main big page where like Magneto freaks out a little bit.
This is Jay Lee, I think, who is one of my favorite 90s Marvel artists who kind of has fallen out of favor. I love this dude.
Yeah, I think this is great. But like, if you just like unfocus your eyes and look at the art and to see all of the text boxes on it, you're like, what in the fuck do you need to say? Like, this is why are we talking about this long about it?
It's and it's all stuff we know. They're underlining their themes since they're going to have this big fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is establishing that Magneto really, really likes vengeance and really wants to do it.
Yep.
You know, there's little of the man remaining. Now it's just Magneto. You know, as his helmet putting on ceremony. He has to go through this whole thing every time he puts on his. The thing about Dewey Cox is he remembers his whole life before he goes on stage.
Like we didn't talk about it, but like when he first starts this, when we first go to Magneto, he's literally got his helmet on like a little throne surrounded by like melted candles and the whole nine. Like it's
because he bought it from Entertainment Earth. It's a replica.
It's a replica. Perfect.
Yeah. It comes with a little stand so you can. It's a proper replica. He's got an Iron Man helmet, and a Black Panther helmet. Also.
Exodus, why is our Spencer's bill so high this month?
Cortez. But yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna do a vengeance.
Yes.
You know?
And I don't know that we specifically. I apologize. I didn't have time to read this right before the podcast like I usually do. But I read this like twice already, so I'm not too stressed about it. But his vengeance is going to be interrupting a funeral for a young teenager, which is pretty.
It's awful vengeance.
Yeah.
This is the issue that I think Magneto is the most villainous, that kind of fucks up things.
Yeah.
For the story.
We go back to the mansion where Kitty is hunting for food in the refrigerator, and Storm comes up, fully costume stormed, and kind of relaxed Kitty. And Kitty is kind of regretting, as you do when someone close to you dies, like, what did we do to get here? What choices could I have made differently? Like, you would still be at Kenya. Ileana, which probably my best friend, would still be alive. Like, she's going through that mourning process, and Storm is like, I get you, but like also, all of this stuff is done for a reason, and like the fact that we all knew each other is better than us not ever having met one another. And then she takes Kitty on an air ride, which I guarantee you, if every single funeral I've attended would have been better if I'd gotten a little air ride from Storm beforehand. Every single one.
Kitty Pryde just here for the zip lines. This is a sweet moment. Like I've always liked Storm and Kitty Pryde's relationship. I also like how this gives us a rare peek inside the X-Men's fridge.
Oh yeah!
Every time this happens, I love it. So they've got one of those old-timey plastic like sun tea jugs that's so well observed. Every family had this thing. Two what look like cans, like canned beans or something.
See, I've read this as like things of yogurt.
I guess suppose they could be yogurts. They have weird lids.
They do have weird lids for yogurt, but I kind of read those as yogurt. I'm not sure if that is. It's some sort of weird like diet Snapple situation on the right hand side.
A diet Snapple, a tub of just macaroni, and then a butter that I can't quite read, but it kind of looks like the butter's name is Grag. What's the name of this butter?
Hey, that butter's been around since 1884, it looks like. So maybe you don't mess with Crag, okay?
Yeah, respect Grag. Respect your elder butters.
And also, like, as a huge fan of funeral food, like, I feel like nobody brought food for Ileana. Like, we didn't, like, X Factor showed up and didn't bring a fucking cake. Like, nobody brought
multiple
potatoes.
men could just literally be, doing this. At least have some pizzas delivered.
God, do you remember the time that they were making Thanksgiving dinner on the animated series and Gene was like, "Get out of here, Gambit! That's too much seasoning."
I certainly do it. Just a little cayenne pepper. Just normal Christmas food, Gambit. Didn't need seasoning. No, it doesn't.
Just in hindsight, maybe my favorite moment from that entire show. Just so good.
It's up there with Table Boy as like my favorite things that have happened. And they're in the same episode.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And that's also the episode where Wolverine cuts the turkey with his claws, right? Like that all happens at the same time. Oh God, so gross.
We also, speaking of Gambit, not this episode, but next episode, the way that Gambit is written in the Larry Hamill Wolverine series is so funny. Anywho, they cut out as they're flying. They notice Colossus. He's all metaled up, dressed in black, and he's burning all of his like Fleer trading card paintings of the other X-Men.
I love this. I love
this is great. Big Messy is listening to My Chemical Romance.
Oh my God, I promise you. Yeah. I don't know how to say mom in Russian. I feel like I should know that or something, but I was going to do the mom. It's not a phase thing, but I just couldn't get there in Russian.
This is not the phase.
Yeah, and he's just real bummed and like kind of unfeeling, cold on the outside. Like obviously, like Kitty's trying to appeal to his humanity. Like you can't want to burn all of these, right? He's like, well, if you want one, that's fine. And she gives him this big hug, and he's just unresponsive. Like he doesn't
respond.
Yeah. And she runs away. That's
the art is selling that really well.
Yeah.
Like the posture of that, like the acting in those panels is good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know? But yeah, he's shut down. He's a beep boop robot man now. We cut over to Banshee and Bishop, who were set to put out the tables. In full uniform.
I love this, but also we need to talk about where this is, because the narration says that it's the first mission house of worship for the Salem Center. Like this was where the pilgrims came to worship, and all I could think about is fucking The Witch. It's the movie not fucking The Witch. That sounded wrong, but the movie The Witch. Because I just having like, I don't know, spooky X-Men stuff would really appeal to me. I feel like that's a good time. So
that's a cool idea. Yeah. They used to have these X-Men comics called, or they weren't comics, they were prose things called X-Men Chillers that were like trying to capitalize on Goosebumps. Did you know about those?
I probably did, but I always remember trying to read prose of the X-Men and just getting really put off. And I was a big reader too, but there's something about like reading about Cyclops that just did not work for me whatsoever as a kid.
It's excruciating. it's like you can't do it.
Yeah, like
it
just seems like
about the X-Men.
Yeah, I just don't
Holy
know.
Shit.
It would be awful, man. Like imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody needs to pay the Game of Thrones guy to do some. Let's give me one book. Let's see what he can do with Game of Thrones or with X-Men.
Everybody, has death on their mind. You know, this is Bishop being his like, I'm a hard ass from the future. What is the point of funerals? You know, the girl died. There's nothing more than that. And Banshee saying, no, we have to mourn your friends. You make your future sound so tempting. Bishop's like, oh, you sound like you don't believe I'm from the future. And Bishop's probably sick of saying that. And Banshee's like, no, I totally believe you're from the future. You're just not from mine. Yeah. I'm going to make things better than that. Flash forward to him dying from the third Summers brother, coming back as a horseman of apocalypse.
Perfect.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And now it's time for funeral time.
Yep.
We have this really big spread of all of the X-Men and their full regalia. I'm glad they kind of point this out as being like a thing that the X-Men do, because otherwise it would just be so fucking silly for everybody to be. Actually, it is very, very silly, but at least it's like a thing that they do, right? Like at least if it's silly with a purpose, I can hang with it, because like, I don't know, getting your fucking combat tactical gear on to go to a child's funeral is just a ridiculous thing to do.
It's pretty garish for a funeral.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like if you're showing up dressed as Boom Boom for a funeral, like, I don't know, Jubilee at a funeral is like a metaphor of some kind. But the idea that they're kind of, these are uniforms, like this is almost like a military thing, and they're honoring a comrade even though it's just a baby.
Like it's wild. Yeah. It's wild that Bobby's iced up.
Yeah. I can't remember if during this time if he's always iced up.
Oh, this might be that time. You're right. Yeah,
there might be. There's a period in which he's iced up all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if that's this though. I'm not trying to gotcha. I know that Warren can't turn back into a human at this point. He's always Archangel.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about, and again, there are too many words in this comic in a big bad way. Every single page is just paragraph upon paragraph of the same kind of purple prose. This is Storm giving the eulogy, and it's fine.
It's okay, but it ironically reminds me of exactly what happened at my mom's funeral, which I think we've talked about on the podcast before, where the dude just wouldn't fucking shut up. Like he was, he was so off topic and just rambling. I'm just like, who are you? Who is this for? It's not for me.
It's my time to shine.
Yeah.
The fucking I told you, I'm sure this is in the same episode, the really weird episode of this X-Men animated series podcast where we ended up talking about our respective mother's funerals a lot. But I had that person, that old acquaintance when I was younger, who like was doing networking at my funeral. Like she didn't get up in front of everybody and be like, does anyone know if I can get a job? But like was going around networking with people, and then also was like every time there was a prompt where somebody could say something, said something,
would jump in. Awful.
Yeah, it fucking sucked.
Awful,
yeah,
awful. Yeah,
they're about to get their funeral crashed. We see this POV from the sky looking down on them. At first, is kind of foreshadowing.
Yep. Before that, though, we get a little bit of like back and forth with the X-Force team about their new leader being suspicious because of the cable stuff. And then Xavier tries to pull Peter aside and just say how terribly sorry he is. And Peter, in a very uncharacteristic fashion, is like, "Are you? Like, I have trouble believing literally anything that you say now," and blows up on him, kind of blaming, not kind of, but actively blaming Xavier for Liliana's death. Of like, "Hey, I believed in your dream. I joined up. You told me that we could help the world, that I was part of a larger whole. All of that seems fake. All of that failed me. Like now, I have none of my family left." And
it's worth noting, as much as I don't like this issue very much, I do like Colossus's little arc that comes out of the storyline quite a bit. It makes sense for him because he's always been so exceedingly sister pilled. You know, like everything he does is for Ilyana. It even shows up in the cartoon.
Sure.
You know, it's his main thing. And somebody being like, why do we have to deal with all this tragedy when we're doing the right thing is natural. You know, it's easy to forget how young Colossus would be here. Like it was the 1975 that he first joined, and he was like a teen then. You know, so he's probably supposed to be in like his mid-20s.
Yeah.
It makes sense to have this existential freak out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even if he's wrong. I really like Cyclops in the 90s before anyone decided to make Cyclops good, where he's just a slow on the uptake idiot. Like this whole fight's happening. He's like, I think something's brewing. And all he does is walk up and start trying to tell Colossus he's out of line. You know?
That's very good. And Xavier actually says, you know, Colossus is absolutely right. And that's when Magneto shows up and just with a flash of magnetic energy and what has to be conservatively 140,000 words, like a fucking it's like at least it is a fanfic length of Supernatural. It's that fucking long of text on this page, and it is absolutely ridiculous.
It's doing a thing that I always find falls flat in fiction, which is when you reveal something to the audience before you reveal it to the characters, but still want to get cash out the reveal to the characters.
Yep.
Right. So Magneto showing up here is a really big deal to the X-Men. They're all surprised. They thought he was dead, but we've been spending several issues with him. We know he's back. So, but we still have to have everybody act all shocked. And I get it, you know, but in general, I think it's probably a good thing to reveal this sort of thing to the characters and the audience at the same time.
Yes.
Or do this better than this. And this is where Magneto fucking starts sucking. Like, he's just like, you know, that is why I've chosen this moment to return. It is obvious your dream sucks. Like, it's very opportunist and disrespectful for Magneto.
Yes.
To do this. This is not the same Magneto that like led the school. This is not the same Magneto as anything.
Yeah,
it's pure villain. He's like on kick.
It's a pretty shitty, like, I think it's a shitty characterization. As much as I like the Colossus kind of breaking bad a little bit in this, or at least pushing back against the beliefs that Xavier instilled in him, like that makes sense to me. This doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and it gets progressively worse after the acolytes show up, because they're there and they're like, praise be to Magneto, he's our god, everything's fantastic, and he doesn't even like. Oh, I forgot the first thing that Magneto does is break Charles's chair. Like, Jesus Christ, Magneto.
It's really rough. Like, it's just, you know, what a dick.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I also don't like that this Wolverine's going to take him out, and Magneto just shoves Wolverine back and makes his claws go back in, which we did not need a reminding that magnets work on metal. You know? This just makes it seem stupid that Wolverine went and threw himself at him in the next issue and got torn up.
Yes.
You know, and Xavier, for all of the good, you know, we're generally down for critiques of Xavier in this. Xavier is just like, there's no need for this. Like, we're at a funeral, you know, he's begging him.
Yeah.
And again, he takes apart his chair. Like, nobody's, you know, he's magnetically holding everyone in place.
which I also don't like, by the way. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
the real big problem I have with this arc in general, or with this crossover in general, is just it's like we get to make up everything that Magneto's powers do. Like some of the stuff
Yeah.
really, like holding people in place with the iron in their blood. Just I don't think that he could do that. Like, I'm sorry,
It's a
Magneto.
lot.
I just don't think that you
Yeah.
could do that. Maybe one person if they had a lot of iron in their blood, but no.
Yeah, if they ate tons and tons of steak. As he's saying this, he's talking about how, his way is the right way. Quicksilver points out, that the acolytes just did the slaughter thing. And Magneto says, this is some awful shit. Like, Sunyaka's like, yes, words can't express my joy. I love working with you. And Quicksilver says you did these horrible crimes. Magneto says, crimes, my son? Is it a crime to put an animal out of its misery? What you witnessed was tossing of the gauntlet, the first sign of mutants taking the initiative to free themselves from the human oppressors at last. If I hadn't been in the Antarctic getting my strength, Sunyaka would have gotten my blessing. Would you though? Are you sure that's the reason why? Because Sunyaka and all those guys just went and killed a bunch of people who in an old folks home or like a hospital.
Yeah.
Like that's beneath you, Magneto.
Like they went to an ICU. Like, what do you?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking
Red
about?
Skull shit. Like, that is, and they'll point that out to him. Like he's doing Nazi shit, and he's supposed to not like Nazis. But like that is just so over the top villainous that like I don't want any character to do that in a comic. Like that breaks fiction for me.
Mm-hmm.
It is for this to work and have any meaning at all. Magneto has to have kind of a point. The reason why he has to have kind of a point is because we had to believe Colossus can join him. We had to believe that Xavier wiping his mind is bad.
Yes.
And every other issue in this crossover does a pretty good job with that. This one absolutely dog shits it.
It stands out as one of the worst set of dialogue from Magneto ever, because it flies completely in the face of everything else that he's saying. Like all the rest of the time, he's like, we want to offer the mutants a chance at salvation. Like we're going to give them this place to live separately from the humans because I know they'll never come to accept us. Like, and then this is like, oh yeah, if they get old, they die absolutely immediately.
Yeah, and we're not naturally or nothing. We send Sunyaka. We're gonna send Spore at them. Like if you get to a certain age, a Spore alert shows up and Spore Dash sends a piping hot Spore directly to your door to kill you.
Let's do a 2023 remake of Logan's Run, except it's just Spore coming after Logan.
It's Wolverine.
It's Wolverine and Spore. Absolutely. There we go.
So he says, I would have given you my blessing, but I did not. And he crushes Sunyaka beneath his shitty tentacles.
I do like this because it's a badass move, and then the reaction panel to the X-Men is fantastic. Like Jean's hiding her face in Cyclops' chest. Jubilee looks like she's about to puke. Colossus, best day of his life, minus the Illyana funeral thing. He's so happy about this. He's like, that's exactly what I wanted to do to that dude. That's exactly what I would have done. Yeah.
It's a real shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
But it and it doesn't make any sense because Magneto's also not, none may disobey me. Like that's not the style of villain he is either. That's like Doctor Doom shit. This is him dressing up as worse villains.
Like the line here, do not weep for this pathetic man, for I have not slain him. Rather, he has been liberated from the enslavement that was his life. No, that's just
called
just called killing. That's just you just murdered that dude. You have slain him.
Weird bullshit.
That's such a bad dialogue.
Also, in that panel, get a load of curvy Magneto. I love my curvy Magneto. Look at his left leg and how big and long that thigh is.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it.
The amount of meat you could get off that Magneto.
I love my Magnetos old with their knees low. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. This is for the time is gone for debating, choosing sides, for questioning my ultimate authority. From this day, all those who do not stand with me are among my enemies. It's directly contradicting everything he just said in all the other issues. Like the everything, when Cannonball was like, no, we had to let Rusty and Skids stay. They made their choice. Magneto's now saying, no one has a choice with Magneto. It fucking sucks. And everyone's shocked by this. They show his flying fortress comes down.
Yep.
To see everything. Avalon can do that apparently. And they brandish swords again. Charles Xavier is very shocked that this happened.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know particularly why. and in the background of this whole fight, because Xavier and Magneto are going to like talk at each other for a while. But meanwhile, all of the X-Men have just been frozen by Magneto's power, while all of this energy kind of pulses through the air. And of course, Bishop's mutant power deals with the absorption and then the release of energy. So he's just been absorbing all of this entire time. And so there's something that's about to happen. I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at this panel and my eyes are just rolling at the bottom left-hand side where Magneto has 5 paragraphs in a quarter-page panel. Like, what are you doing?
It is just too many words, you know. It's also, he's playing this Ilyana card. He's like, you know, try walking my path. We know mutants won't last long in this world. Ilyana will be the first. My dude, Ilyana died from the legacy virus, which is what Strife did. Like, Strife's not a human. He's a clone of Cable from the future. The 90s X-Men has been dealing with more than human versus mutants, and you can't just, like, you know, do them all at once for convenience.
And I guess,
you know?
like, and there's probably more of an argument that, like, she was following Charles' dream, and that's what got her killed. But, like, also, no.
It kind of didn't, because people get the legacy virus without... I can't remember how the legacy virus is spread exactly, but it's not spread by, like, being an X-Man. You know, like, the people who don't have anything to do with the X-Men still get the legacy virus.
I think it's lengthy monologues. I think if you're in a room with somebody...
It's what's giving me the fucking legacy virus.
You're just in a room with somebody, they talk for more than 4 minutes about a thing. You're like, oh, God, now I'm going to die.
A thing you know.
Yeah.
So the Bishop finally blows up and hits Magneto and throws him through the wall of a church with a mighty crunch, which frees everybody.
Finally.
You know, there. Yep, finally. You know, everyone's real scared. This is a big deal. Magneto's more powerful than he's ever been.
Yep.
You know, they're going to fight them. They're going to do what they must, you know, to fight Magneto. Magneto comes back and he goes, this is how you repay the courtesy I extended you? Like, what on earth are you fucking talking about, you maniac?
Yeah, just the utter bonkers bullshit at this point. Like, and just again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs of dialogue after he stands up. Like, what can you why do you need this much space, Scott Lobdell? You don't. Yeah. You're not saying anything. Everybody
starts doing a Care Bear power thing to put all of their power into Bishop, so Bishop can blast him. While this is happening, you know, they're like, oh, we have to take him down. And Magneto says, actually, this whole area will be nothing but a smoldering crater, a testament to the world. For every life claimed by Strife's legacy, I will take 10,000 humans in penance. I cannot stress this enough. Strife has nothing to do with this conflict. You colossal dumbass. Like, it is just the worst Magneto I've ever seen.
It's really bad. Rogue decides she's going to make a run, and she flies up to him, gives him the smoochy smooch, and is surprised when it doesn't work. It doesn't absorb all of his power. And he says she steals a little bit, but not enough, and to really do anything with. And I'm like, okay, so, like, I guess it's not really how Rogue's powers ever work, but okay, cool, yeah, sure.
I guess that's where we're at. I do like that she just throws him directly at Gambit. Or throws her directly at Gambit.
Yes, yeah, with a nice walk like, it's a sound.
Very funny thing to do to Rogue at the end of this, I suppose. He's basically saying in a different world, you know, we would have had, you know, a romance, because they've always had that there. And then he grabs a fence, wraps up a bunch of people with his metal fence. But then Bishop, you know, who's saving the day, comes up and blasts him some more because he has a lot of power.
Yeah.
Here.
Bishop's dialogue has a black and red outline on it, so you know that shit's fucking serious, man.
Yeah.
That shit is.
He's very angry.
He is super angry and he's super powerful.
Yeah. They're all, you know, they bring the fight to them enough. While this is happening, the Avalon is starting to sink.
Mm-hmm.
Which here, Jean Grey has to hold it up.
Yep, because of course, if this crashes on Earth, the devastation will be unthinkable. And meanwhile, Bishop is just pouring energy on Magneto when, surprise, Colossus comes and, like, just fucking
punches him in the back,
nails him in the back with the huge metal fist, which has to hurt. Like, this has to be extremely painful. And he's like, actually, I'm going to join Magneto's side. And I, you know, when I read this comic, this is kind of the reason that we read this comic, right? Like, we were curious about Colossus kind of going to the dark side to a degree. and I kind of dig the build up to this. I can't imagine following Magneto anywhere after hearing this speech, like, or just not like even if Peter just didn't speak English, if he was just like watching a dude talk for this long, he'd be like, net,
this sucks.
I'm out.
He has not made a compelling case for somebody who's not a psychopath. Like, this is how you recruit Sanyakas. This isn't how you recruit Colossuses. And we're going to find out it's a little bit complicated because Colossus has a head injury. The last issue of this crossover is a long surgery. Weirdly enough, with all the X-Men using their powers to commit surgery on Colossus.
Why didn't they just shrink themselves down and go attack the illness itself? That would have been perfect.
That'd be great. I would love to see that. Like a tiny Cyclops, like blasting white blood cells.
It's such a fine line between X-Babies and tiny Cyclops. Like, it's just.
I mean, well, see, one of them's an infant and one of them's just a Cyclops, but very small, and it's very important distinction.
huge distinction about and a huge difference in quality.
Yes,
we have this big panel between Xavier and Magneto where they're just yelling at each other. Except actually Xavier is talking. Now it's his turn to talk about paragraphs and inherent goodness, and you can't believe that you're doing this. It's exactly what happened to you as a child. And Magneto responds with "Arg."
Yeah, he doesn't have a counterpoint for that really, necessarily. They continue to fight. There are those who consider us the strongest humans on the planet. We both know that. You and I have both started at the same point in our lives. We're not so different. We could have made a difference. Do you remember, Eric, how you lost your soul? The promise and everything. And we get again 2 more pages of yelling. I convinced myself that you, Magneto, were actually a good guy, that you could be made to see the reason. I had to believe you that. If I have to actually take you out, I will. And Magneto starts floating up to space here with Xavier clinging to him until he gets so high in space that he drops Xavier from orbit of some kind, which seems like a good way to die. But then luckily Archangel catches him.
Yeah, brings him right back down to Earth. Like, this is an NBD.
Yep.
Yeah, no big deal.
He's fine. But the gauntlet has been thrown and Colossus has been taken, which is the mechanics of this, like X-Men finding out Magneto's alive, good. Colossus switching sides, good. That's it. Everything else is impossible. Really, really the worst of what the 90s have to offer.
Yes, absolutely.
To me.
Whatchamacallit, all the Storm and Kitty stuff I thought was actually really good.
There's a couple pretty good things in this. But it's largely a bad comic, and largely, it's bad for its time, but also even the next thing we're talking about, the X-Men 25, is a better comic.
Yes.
Like it's even on the curve of 90s superhero comics. Like, this is a pretty bad one.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to greener pastures though.
Let's do it
with X-Men 25.
Great cover. This is all
great cover.
All of the X-Men, some in spacesuits, some in not spacesuits, fighting Magneto, who is holding Wolverine to the ground. Always love this classic 90s thing where Wolverine's mask comes off in little bitty pieces, like you're trying to unwrap the world's worst Slim Jim wrapper.
Or the best one that regenerates.
I guess so. Yeah, just
if you had a Slim Jim with a healing factor, dude.
Oh God. That was my snack before the podcast, and now I am deeply regretting my actions.
Slim Jim with a healing factor. I know, it's serious. We cut over to the world panicking. We have the president calling Boris Yeltsin, and they're saying, like, listen, we're going to do the Magneto protocols now. The things that Xavier was looking at before.
Yep.
We cannot do this.
Nick Fury is there.
Yep. Forge is there, government liaison for X Factor at this point. This is bad. So we're going to finally enact this. And the Magneto protocols are defensive.
Yeah.
It's worth noting the Magneto protocols aren't, let's find a bunch of mutants and kill them. Let's make Legacy Virus 2.
Yeah. It's not even let's release the Sentinels that we have. Like, it's just we're going to shoot some lasers around the Earth And like, I think what is it like
a shield.
Yeah, it just makes a shield around it, but it also like changes the magnetic polarity a little bit, with the idea being that he wouldn't be able to use his powers, he wouldn't be as strong, which is kind of cool.
Yes,
I like that as an idea.
Well, and also, what reasonable Magneto would have a problem with this? Like, Magneto does have a problem with this, and this is the better Magneto. It's not as, but it just seems like, oh, like you want to have your own space station. We're going to have our own thing, and we can't have you there just blowing up churches and killing people for no reason.
Exactly.
Sinyaka probably had citizenship of somewhere. Like, you can't just go here and murder people with your powers.
So, this obviously, Magneto is watching this from his spaceship in Avalon, and like all of the acolytes are there, and he's super mad about it.
Yes,
and he's just basically going through. Can't believe humans are doing this. We should be allowed to live free if we want to. And when I at first glance at this panel with all of the acolytes, for some reason I thought Magneto had his arm around Exodus like they were little buds. And I thought it was very cute, but it's not.
It looks a little bit like that.
Yeah. I just had a moment, and I was like, "Oh."
Exodus's shoulder pad is the same color as Magneto's glove.
That's how you show loyalty.
That's how you show loyalty. He considers this an attack, and here's where he's like, for too long I have done this little tete-a-tete with people in power. I assumed that as administrations came and went, figureheads would change, and somebody would believe that we had a right to be free. This is so weird coming off the last one where he's like, I will kill 10,000 humans for every time somebody dies of the legacy virus.
It's, it cannot be stated enough. It's like the main problem with all of these Marvel crossover events. Like, for all of the excitement and the things that they want to do with them, it just is always going to be a little fucking weird when you have multiple writers writing the same character and they're not talking to each other.
That's a huge editing problem.
Yeah.
Like, the editors are supposed to fix that. They don't. So here's where he crosses the moral event horizon. He flies out in space using magnets to breathe, stands in front of space and zaps the Earth, causing a worldwide EMP blast.
Yes.
Turning off all of the electronics on Earth. This is one of the worst things that somebody could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't seem that bad, they show like cars crashing and stuff, but it's like, think about it, like, later in the issue, they're like, oh, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people died. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, every single person on life support, every single person on a plane, a lot of people in cars, if you just turn off all the electricity in the world, a lot of people fucking die.
Yeah. And that's just like from the immediate side of it. The fallout from this as people begin to realize that there's no law, essentially, like, and go fucking crazy. I think about the only worst thing that you could do to the planet is like halt its rotation for a second. And just, and like,
then everyone would die.
And then
he's threatened to do that before in the 60s.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's got some good ideas, is what I'm saying.
So we check in on one of the things I like about this comic is it is showing the whole world.
Yes.
Reacting to this, like showing it's a worldwide threat. We show the Fantastic Four reacting. Sunfire sees this happening. It happens in the Kremlin. We see Excalibur. I love Captain Britain has always sucked. That's one of the things that's been fun to go back to these 90s comics, where this big thing happens. Nightcrawler's like, what happened to the power? And Captain Britain, who's drinking tea, says, I'm not certain, but the backup generator should come on in a moment. Just, like, this isn't a job for Excalibur.
Completely unbothered by this entire event happening. Yeah.
This got nothing to do with Excalibur. We're not going to fuck with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really bad. Beast and Banshee turn on the backup generators and are just like, man, this is really bad. We got to let Charles Xavier know what the fuck happened.
It's really hilarious to me as a guy that has backup generators at his house because of hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
That we see, like, for all of the world, this looks like he's got like a screwdriver and he's like wrenching on some technology. And I'm like, dude, I do this. Like, this isn't Beast smart stuff. Like,
this isn't Beast level.
Yeah. It's, all you got to do is just like jerk that chain and make sure to point the carbon monoxide like away from your window, and like you're good to go. Like, this is pretty simple.
This is a Shi'ar one. They get a lot of extra stuff.
I've got a Honda that does this, and it's quiet.
We cut over to our title page with the X-Men Fabian Nicieza as the writer, the great Andy Kubert as the artist, like very classic 90s X-Men house style stuff. The title of the issue, Dreams Fade. This is the 25th issue of this X-Men. Big round number, so big thing happens.
Yep.
And Magneto has brought everyone here. He says, I've called you here because I have something to tell you.
Xavier, but yes. And also,
Xavier.
Also, Xavier, just through the art, kind of looking a little disheveled, looking a little unshaven, and like he's been sleeping pretty badly.
Yeah, I like it. He's briefed Cyclops, who is basically a human PowerPoint for Xavier, and just explains what Xavier told him earlier so he can rest his voice.
It's very funny.
90s Cyclops is so funny. Basically he explains the X-Men what happened. This is intended as a provocation, to us. It's provoking us, explaining everything bad that happened. Yep. Xavier says, I think this is probably a temporary condition, but the pulse is going to have this horrible effect.
Yep.
The ferocity is going to be incredibly intense. Rogue says, how bad is it? And Scott says, we don't know. We're only online because of Shi'ar technologies, but it's probably very bad.
Yeah.
He lists some of the things that might happen.
Perhaps thousands have died, says Xavier. And I'm like, y'all need to think bigger.
Yeah, but tens of thousands. Yeah.
This would be a good time to use some of those telepathic powers that can cover the globe to really help some people out, if you're asking me. But what do I know about being a telepath?
It doesn't work for Cerebro, I guess. Yeah. No. It's more important to create a walking suit. So Magneto or Xavier finally lays it on. He's like, we have to make sure that this can't happen again.
Yeah.
Like, this is difficult. Many of us have complicated feelings about Magneto, but this cannot happen. And Wolverine's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. For this dream to survive, Magneto's got to go.
Yep. We gotta, which is antithesis to what Xavier has raised these X-Men to do. And Scott says this on the next page. Him and Beast and Jean are talking, and he's like, I don't really like this. And Beast points out, like, do you not like it because it's not a good idea, or because you were kind of totally left out of this idea? And Scott at this point is like, no, I think murdering a guy is bad. I think murdering a dude in cold blood is probably bad. Like, is it worse than some other things? Like, maybe. Is it better than a lot of other things? Maybe. But still, murdering a guy is bad. Like, there's no question that that's true.
They're talking about, staying up the Xavier's dream here, and how it sounds corny, but it sounds really good. And they're interrupted. They're like, did it ever occur to you in the years we've been together that maybe I was wrong? And Xavier in his fatally dorky walking suit. Just the nerdiest thing that has ever been worn by a character. This is the last character you unlock in the video game X-Men Legends. Is Xavier in this suit?
I don't think I ever got that far that deep into it.
Yeah. So you can play as the Savior if you like.
Man, they took
and he punches people and shit. It's funny.
They took those Ultimate Alliance games off of PSN.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, the new remasters. Like, I was me and Pad were looking for something to play together the other day, and I was like going through my library, and I was like, oh yeah, I have this. We should be able to play this together. And he's like, oh, I'll go buy it right now. I love that on PS2, and then like could not find it anywhere. And
dang.
I searched it, and apparently there's weird licensing things, as you might imagine. So
I'd really I got those when they came out. I was really happy to get them, and I really would like them to put out X-Men Legends 1 and 2 in the same thing.
Me too.
Make it easy to play. Like, I've got them on my computer, but those scratch and itch. Like, those are like the dumbest games I really like, or the most mindless games I really like. Like, they're very beat 'em uppy.
Yeah.
But they're fun to me.
I got Autumn into those a little bit, just and it's because it's close to the same. Like, it's an ARPG, right? Like, it's close to Diablo, so she was into it for a little bit. So
it's better because it's got X-Men's in it.
Well, I thought so. apparently the theming of hell and killing demons, as opposed to
is better than
weird robots, is better than
in Alaska.
So
fuck.
Oh well.
So the suit is this thing that allows him to transfer his psychic telepathy into telekinesis. The Shi'ar did it, and it makes him. It's very difficult, but he can walk around.
Yeah.
This is because he's going to be leading the team for this. They're saying like, hey, you're not really useful in the field. That's not what you do, man. We punch stuff. You just yell at us about it. And he says, no, I agree. That is why, I have this team set up. And he explains the plan. You get his close combat operatives to infiltrate. So we got Wolverine and Gambit our stealthy characters. Jean and Xavier are going to torture him with torture his twisted soul.
You're gonna attack him at his weakest point, his tortured soul.
Yes.
What a burn.
Well, and then Quicksilver and Rogue they have their desire to settle unresolved emotional conflicts.
Excuse me?
I love that he's like, they're not really tactically part of it. We just want to give him a bone.
Yeah. They're just here to yell at him for being a bad dad. And Rogue's like, he's not my dad.
Yeah.
I just call him daddy.
Yeah, I just think he's kind of hot, man. This has never actually been that complicated. And I can sometimes touch him, and I can't touch Gambit. He's everyone's a little bit upset that the rest of the team isn't coming, and he's like, yeah, but we're in a space station, so we can't have energy blasts. But even without an energy blast, why aren't more people coming?
Yeah.
And Beast calls it out. He's like, oh, you don't expect to make it back. Like, we need X-Men to carry on after this suicide mission. And he basically says, yeah, if I could, Jean would come as well, but I need her help.
Yeah, Jean. If I could, I would keep Jean there, but I need her. I need her to come with. Then we get like Gambit and Rogue suiting up in some space X-Men suits, which is always a classic. I always love this. Love that Gambit is just smoking throughout this entire thing, which means this whole area just stinks like crazy.
It actually stinks like Drakkar Noir and smoke.
Yeah, dude, just the worst. Fucking Cool Water cologne and Camel cigarettes. Just awful.
Yep, awful. The rest of the X-Men show up. They're all getting ready to leave in their spacesuits. And Storm says, Charles, the rest of us have been discussing this. This is an unnecessary risk. Like, this is putting the X-Men in a hazardous position. This is not great. You should have more people. We should bring all of our forces. This is a suicide mission. Don't you think you'd rather have more strength?
Yeah.
And he basically says, no, I can't risk everyone. This is me giving up the dream, to take this out, but the dream will remain here. I'm giving it up, but you have to carry it on Earth.
I do like Storm being like, if you're going to ask the sacrifice of some of us, you should ask it for all of us. Like, that feels wrong. And it feels very much in line with like who Storm is, to be like, no, these are my teammates. This is my family. If I can't ask of them anything that I wouldn't do myself. Right. Like,
yeah. Yep. So they send them all up. They beam them up onto the spaceship they're going to take.
Yep.
They take the little spaceship. And Cyclops and Beast are a little maudlin. Beast quotes
Shakespeare,
a Greek poet. It's not Shakespeare. It's a Greek tragedy.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That probably happens all the time around Beast. Like, oh, more Shakespeare, Henry? No.
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. They teleport on to the thing.
Yep.
They're there. They're looking around. They think the coast is clear, but they're being observed on a security monitor. They put Colossus on security detail, and he just turns off the monitor.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good job.
Yeah. And he's just, he's still conflicted. This is, to me, this is fine and good.
Yeah.
They turn it off. They start going through the hallways and everything. And like, I like this little bit. I like Gambit. Like, if we're going to survive this, I'm going to teach you all to be better thieves. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's
just be
bantering.
quiet. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
And of course they run into, I've already forgotten the twins' names.
Rusty and Skids.
We're
not twins.
Not twins. Yeah. But they run into them, and like, now they're kind of fixed, and like, they're basically like, no, we volunteered to be here. We're not prisoners anymore. Like, we have chosen to be here.
I love that they start doing superhero banter. Like, they're just like, you're going to be hard to see with that black eye. What black eye? The black eye I'm about to give you. And they're going through this, and then Xavier just puts them to sleep.
Yeah, it's like, no.
He's like, we don't have fucking time for this. Did all of that stuff I said on Earth, did that not get through? This is serious times. This is grown-up times, everybody.
I want Jean to be like, you guys talked for a long time. Like, I don't know if you... Like,
yeah.
There were a lot of monologues.
We're not actually playing. Like, don't make all that monologuing for nothing, please. He gives Quicksilver a data disk that he's got to put in.
Yep.
So he can do that while he's moving all super fast, and he's gonna guide him. Quicksilver zaps past a scanner, loads the USB drive or whatever. They're waiting for that to load.
I love scanners. I know we've talked about this before, but that giant arrow pointing down from his forehead is really good. That's great design right there.
It's very good. The it's like the Airbender guy has that.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. The X-Men take off their spacesuits, which is like a personal bugbear for mine for when people go into space stations or like on planets. There's one of the alien movies do that where like the dude like goes into the weird alien tunnel and immediately takes off his helmet and is like, this is great. And I'm like, why would you ever?
Why? Yeah. Like what happens if you get, stuck out? They're continuing their plan. This disc is going to blow up the station, and they're realizing, oh, it's too easy. Wolverine's like, do you suspect an ambush? And Jean Grey says, no, I think that we've ambushed them. They don't even know we're here. Makes the simplicity of this feel very frightening. Don't you think so, Professor? And Professor's like, no, this is good. This is what we want. Again, were you not paying attention?
Yeah, we're up here to murder this fool. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah. Serious time. Oh, no, the disc wasn't going to blow things up. That's the buttons he's pressing. That made them blind to the sensors there. And he says, we've had the benefit from some inside assistance. He realizes that somebody helped.
Yes.
He sets the self-destruct code for the ship. And of course the acolytes, and he also teleports all the acolytes off the ship.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the sorry. He does a lot of things with buttons. This is him teleporting all the acolytes into a little pod and sending them out into space.
Which is fantastic. Great work. Like, just I actually kind of legitimately dig this of just like, oh, there's all my problems. Let me put them in a little ball and drop them into space.
Give me the miniseries with all the acolytes in like a 10-foot room.
Dude.
All together arguing in space.
Just constantly arguing with each other. Yeah. You know what it is? It's that this is it's the superhero Marvel equivalent of that submarine that just would.
Oh, it's very similar to the submarine. Yeah. Except they survive.
Magneto attacks. Magneto shows up in this room,
yep.
Realizing that the X-Men are out to stop him, yelling at Xavier. And the first, now we get into our first fight scene. Wolverine, who is arguably everybody's favorite X-Men character, still has not learned his lesson that his bones are made of metal and jumps out immediately at Magneto, who just throws him to the side like he does every single time this happens. It's kind of ridiculous.
You have to survive. Or you have to surprise Magneto. Rogue is like, you've taken this so too far. There are tons of people dead because of what you did. You swore that wouldn't happen. And he's like, maybe I was wrong. Pencils have erasers, baby. They had to pay. And everyone's poking holes in his thing. Like, pay for what? Being alive? And again, Charles Xavier, I really like Charles Xavier in this episode, or this issue, actually, has to constantly be like, stop being fucking superheroes. We're doing a murder mission. Yeah. Like, stop. We did this already. Don't waste time. Here's the plan. Stick to the fucking plan.
Yes.
They're going to distract him while we get inside his brain and fuck him up. And Jean's whole role in this entire thing is just to be like, what? I don't think that's right, Professor. Just over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like it's not very good.
And they, Gambit distracts Magneto with a charged up card to the face, and then Jean and Xavier are able to get inside of his brain, where they immediately make him feel the pain of losing his family, his loved ones, again in all of its intensity. So things are going super great on the psychic plane.
Well, I'm not going to say this isn't a fucked up thing to do.
Okay.
But the moral equivocating of this and the killing tens of thousands of people on Earth indiscriminately is frustrating to me. Like, making somebody replay their traumas, like, that does suck. Not going to say that doesn't suck. It's just like, at some point, though, I agree with the practical angle that this guy's got to be taken out. So, I don't know. I know it causes an onslaught. So it turns out to be the wrong idea, but I'm kind of in favor of it. I don't know what you would do. Like, you get a Magneto in space, he's just killing people on Earth. What are you supposed to do? Just nothing?
I mean,
so I don't know.
I feel like if you're powerful enough to get into is like, it's all made up comic book shit, so it doesn't actually matter. Like, this is all for a purpose, which is to sell comic book issues. Like, we're not making high art or anything. But at the same time, it feels like if they can get into his mind to make his family make him feel the pain of losing his family, they could also just make him go night and just go take a little nappy nap.
Yeah. They eventually do that at some point. Also, the track record for dealing with Magneto, the last time someone tried to deal with him, they turned him into a baby.
Yeah.
If you remember that. So, like, people don't really know how to handle a problem like Magneto.
It's true. He's got too much power.
Really like he pushes them out of the psychic plane. I love he's throwing these pieces of metal at Gambit, who's mouthing off, and he just throws a piece of metal across Gambit's lips and makes him shut up.
Very funny.
It just tears his lips up. This upsets Rogue. Comes through and punches him. The Quicksilver punches off his helmet. At some point, the helmet was replaced. I was joking the last issue about it being a prop helmet, but it basically is. It doesn't. You can get in his psychic into his brain with it on all the time now. Him punching it off is not important.
Sure. Yeah. And Magneto, his son punching him in the face, punching his helmet off, is like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you would betray me." And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? Like, why wouldn't you believe that?" And we get like some more soliloquies where he's talking about the family and he, number one, he locks Quicksilver down so he can't move anymore. And Quicksilver's saying like, "What a wonderful father you would have made, like forcing your children to do this, to do all this horrible shit." And eventually he realizes that wait, did I get lost in here? Because I thought this was a Xavier trick for some reason.
It's Xavier. It is a trick. Xavier is showing him a memory of his wife and family leaving him with the kids.
Oh, okay, which
isn't what happened, because his wife was pregnant at the time. The kids weren't born yet.
Yeah, while he's hearing all this stuff.
Yeah, he's taking artistic liberties with his memories to make them worse.
Yes. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, there's a lot of words on this page.
But it's somehow still better. They're more fun to read than the last one.
True.
He's there, and the Quicksilver says, Xavier or Magneto says, "That's very devious, Charles. But I stand resolute." And Quicksilver's like, "No, you don't. Look at me. Look at what I am. Like look what kind of son you made. Like I've lived my whole life in your shadow. I can't trust. I can't have a life with my wife or daughter. All I do is run away from my problems because I'm running away from you."
Yes.
Having Magneto as a dad fucked you up.
And this gives Magneto the resolve that he needs to say out loud after kind of a long rambling speech about how important this is and about how he can't allow Pietro to take this away from him. He comes to the decision, as painful as it is, that his son must be slain. And this is where Wolverine decides to announce his presence to Magneto, which doesn't seem like a very smart thing to do. And then tries to jump on him while he's distracted. And of course,
he does stab him. This is supposed to be a real big wound to Magneto. They just don't show it because of Comics Code Authority shit. Magneto is supposed to be almost mortally wounded here, is the idea. Like Wolverine got him in the gut. They just don't show it because they're not showing gore in this. The text. All of these fights are happening while he does this, as Jean and Professor X are going in, making him relive these bad memories.
Yes.
And he's like, "No, this is the key. His children always fail him." He has that feeling. Wanda, Pietro, Fabian Cortez, the Acolytes, all of these people end up betraying him. Let's really, really hit that button while Logan stabs him in the stomach.
Yeah. And we should note that when this breaks Jean's concentration. So because as soon as as soon as Logan stabs Magneto, she's like, "Oh no, don't kill him!" And I'm like, "Guys, you're gonna have to. This is a murder mission. I don't know if you guys got the memo."
And also this is what causes Wolverine to get fucked up.
Yeah, well, yeah,
they had him. And that's the tragedy of this, is Jean Grey losing her resolve to do this horrible thing. Actually, is why Magneto does this other horrible thing.
Yes.
He's dying, and Magneto basically says, "No more. Like, this actually ends for both of us. You're my most well-respected foe, but it's over. Like, you've struck a mortal blow to me. Take this." And he throws Wolverine around, and in a thing that was literally, the coolest thing I'd seen as a kid. It is hard to impress how much of an impression this made on me. Sucks all of his adamantium out of his skeleton.
And the art on this is like, it's bloodless, unfortunately. I feel like this should be a lot gorier than it is, but it is brilliant. Like, it's just all of these almost liquid adamantium coming off of his bones, and of course like Wolverine just shrieking as his clothes peel away and like he's left mostly naked doing this, right? Like, it's horrifying.
It's when I was young, I had those little Toy Biz action figures of X-Men that they made for the 90s. They made hundreds of them. I took my little Magneto and my little Wolverine, and I took aluminum foil and stuck it in the joints of my little Wolverine to recreate this scene.
Look at you. That's very clever.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. I had this little diorama up because this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Now there's 60-year-old men on
Facebook
that do that in there as a hobby.
Yeah. And me who doesn't tell anybody. He sucked it all out. He's, the play is finished. Magneto's doing his villain shit still. And just absolutely fucked him up. Everybody knows this is serious time.
Yeah.
And
he's still alive. He collapses on the floor.
Yes.
He's still alive. The adamantium is like slowly leaving his body. And even Magneto was like, fuck, really? You're alive after that? Jesus.
Holy shit. Yeah. Can't believe he did this. And Magneto now wants to go back to playtime, right? Like he wants to go back to things the way before these event horizons. It's like, what have you, Charles? What have your part in this folly? And thinking that it's like, oh, they're going to do a slap on the wrist. Like I'm going to be put to sleep. I'm going to be sent to jail and I can escape in 5 years or whatever, And Xavier's like, no, we've had these philosophical differences I've hid behind, but I can't let you do these things anymore. Maybe we're both failures that I let you do this. You failed to rise above the horrors that perpetrated your past. And I failed in denying that we need to stop you. We need to stop those horrors that are you, no matter what the cost. I should have been a little bit more hardline and taking you out. You should have been a little bit more softline.
Yeah.
And he basically, Jean is out. Jean is holding Wolverine's body together telepathically or telekinetically. And Charles Xavier grabs Magneto. Magneto, again, he wants to play. He's like, hear that? A life needs saving. That's going to be your bailiwick. You're going to have to go save Wolverine. You don't have time to deal with me. Similar to like a Spider-Man, villain throwing a guy off a building to stop Spider-Man. And Xavier says, no, fuck that. Like billions of lives need saving. You're a threat to all of these people. I'm going to do it. And he looks forward to him. He screams at him. He's yelling about the difference between life and death. We're so different, and blast him in his head. A big blast,
a huge psi blast, and we see like purple energy coming out of both Magneto's eyes and his mouth. And then he collapses, and then as he's collapsing, he's like, Charles, I never thought you would. And then he just thumps down, passed out, and everybody is shocked because they think Xavier killed him. And Xavier is like, no, I didn't kill him. I just took his mind away from him. And this almost killed Xavier even trying to do this. And so they look to Jean and they're like, hey, Jean, you need to help us. And she's like, I can't. I'm barely holding this motherfucker together. Like this dude is. Have
you seen all the metal coming out of this dude's pores?
This dude is bleeding adamantium, which nobody has ever done before in the history of man. Like we're in some crazy places. And of course, this is the point where Peter shows up.
He says, you can't teleport back to Earth the way you got here. There's a modified Blackbird. I've signaled Bishop. Bishop's coming with a modified Space Blackbird. I hope you make it back soon. I'm going to stay here and take care of Magneto. I couldn't do this for my little sister when she was in a convalescent state. I'm going to do it for this old man.
Yeah. Who
no longer has a mind.
Loves to murder people.
That I've betrayed. I let you guys in here. It's complicated. It is real silly that he's like, equivocating Ilyana and Magneto as babies. Yeah. But that is where we end. They go and they get on the ship with fucked up Wolverine. And Colossus stays on the fucked up ship with Magneto taken care of.
I love the art at the bottom of this, just like him standing in the wreckage of Avalon holding Magneto's body. It's just really, really good.
Yeah.
Just really fun. Yeah, this is
it's good.
This is so much better than the last issue. Like I can't even describe. Just so much better. It all makes
in my opinion,
sense.
it's one of the good, like one of the best '90s X-Men issues, individual issues. I think this one's really good, personally.
Yeah, and it can't be described like the excitement of watching Charles walk, which has happened before, but like every time it does, it feels like it's a momentous occasion. And then all of the stuff with Wolverine, and then like Xavier doing the ultimate damage move to Magneto and just completely mind wiping him. And like, what is that going to mean? Like, what happens when Magneto wakes up and he doesn't remember anything about who he is? Like, he's this incredibly powerful being with no memories. What do we do? Really, really exciting.
Yes. Yep. It looks like, what actually happens, now that he's been wiped is we get Onslaught.
Mm-hmm.
it's not actually that fun. And then Joseph, it's not as good as we want it to be.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but it's still a big deal. It is morally complicated. I get a little bit irritated at the Pollyanna-ing of this. After everything he does, like, I understand superheroes don't murder. This isn't strictly murder, and at a certain point, like, I was thinking about, Will has told me before, like, a thing that he uses to go when he goes to bed, he like had in his mind, he was writing a spec script of a trial where a citizen in Gotham City killed the Joker and considered it self-defense because the Joker would eventually kill him.
Okay.
And like what the arguments would be for that. And like, I get that there's a reason why we don't have precogs and shit, but at the same time, like, I get where everyone's coming from this.
Yeah.
Like, putting him to sleep wouldn't do it. You put him in a prison, he gets out. They've done this since the beginning of the X-Men. He's their first villain.
Mm-hmm.
I like this as a turning point of them finally saying enough. I think it's a good dramatic payoff for all the shit. And the consequences are huge. Not only do we make Onslaught, Cable's fucked up. Wolverine's very fucked up.
Yeah.
We get a really exciting issue, the next one, which is, I think, one of the like more action packed things. Like, it feels like very cinematic to me.
Yeah, me too.
The next issue where they're re-entering Earth.
This is gonna be super exciting on the next episode.
Yeah. And then Wolverine quits the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that, man. Like, it's a big deal. This happened. It's a turning point done right, and the consequences lasted for a long time.
And that's what you want out of these events. It's like long-term consequences, right? Like, you want to feel like something actively changed within this world, which a lot of time feels like it's on a treadmill, where it's just like with a moving, rotating background, where it's just, you're going to see the same stuff in the background all the time. So stuff like this that seriously alters characters, and we're not even really talking about Colossus, like that might be an X-Men at the same time. Like, all of this stuff is like big deal news. Like, this is this on the X-Men monthly column. Someone's gonna have to write like, I need additional white space for this because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So
yeah, good stuff. Good 90s crossover. I think overall, while also having tons of 90s problems.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Next episode, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to cover Wolverine 75 and Excalibur 75. I don't know which Excalibur that is.
I don't remember.
Because, of course, I don't. The new directions for both of those, even though the Excalibur comic is fairly inconsequential to the thing. And then we're also going to cover the coda to this, which is Colossus in a courtroom scene defending one of the acolytes.
Yeah, which is just as bonkers as it sounds.
It's acolyte court, baby.
Yeah.
And then we're switching to weekly with Mojo Worldwide and other stuff that comes next.
Yeah. And if you enjoy this podcast and you want to support it, the most direct way to do so is at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. A couple of bucks a month supports not only me and Gary, but also the entire network full of engaging, funny podcasts that you can listen to anytime that you want to. We can't stop you from listening to it while you're delivering a baby. We can't stop you. That's your decision. That's between you and the baby. That's what you're. Just make sure you pick a good episode of WAF. You know what I'm saying? Don't pick one of the bad ones.
I agreed. You heard me mention Will Hughes. He's getting supported by this, as well as other people. And we really appreciate it. Range reviews, telling your friends about the show is great. If you have X-Men friends.
Yes.
I think that's basically
pretty much it. We are collecting feedback for an eventual feedback episode. If you have thoughts about any of the stuff that we've covered, or the MCU, or comics in general, or just questions to ask me and Gary. I had been saying that the best place to send that stuff was Twitter, and then I deleted Twitter off my phone. And then I realized, oh wait, I used that for other stuff besides just being a shithole, so I should probably put it back on my phone. And then I got locked out of my account. So I don't actually, so now I can't get DMs from my friends. So if any of my friends are listening to this, it'd be cool. Like, just DM me on Discord. Like, y'all know how to get in touch with me. But also, you could send podcast feedback to, what is our Gmail? It's DOFC podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, DOFC podcast. Yeah. Follow me on Blue Sky. GaryButterfield.bluesky.social.
Oh yeah, I'm on Blue Sky as well. Yeah. I did that.
Yeah.
Friend of the show.
I like it. It's little and people aren't discoursing. So I believe it will turn into crap. I also roll my eyes at like all of the different alternatives to Twitter, but like, I don't know, Twitter's gotten bad enough.
Yeah.
That is pretty rough at this point.
I see a lot of news about other social media sites on Blue Sky, which I find very funny. Like it's a lot of navel gazing of like, oh, this is what a Blue Sky person said, or this is what a Threads person said, or this is the way you should behave on Blue Sky. Like I see a lot of that business. Also very funny that like I think pretty much the only discoverability on that website right now is just looking at your friends and seeing who follows them and who they follow and finding other people that you know. That's the way I've found everybody. That's the only way
that's all I've done. Yeah. It's also very different than Twitter, where I'm like, I need more people to follow because nothing's on here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. So, anywho, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
And we appreciate you.
Bye, everybody.